Alex here with a high conflict child custody video on children, or let's call it the child's interest in litigation. So I guess um, I'm going to have some personal thoughts, some objective thoughts that I'll talk about in the first portion of the video. But I just want to tell people right now, right at the beginning, that at the end of the video, I'm going to end up agreeing with the court's position on this. And I think that all 50 states have family courts, or if they don't, they have judges presiding over family court cases. And I think the position across the country is that parents should not include their children in the litigation, and that is actually the only real conclusion that we can reach. But I do want to tell people that I do have some objective sort of differences of opinions on, I guess I'll use the word ideally, in an ideal world, how it should be, but why towards the end of the video, I'm going to end up agreeing with the court system. So do kids have a natural interest in their parents' court case? Are kids just on their own curious, wanting to find out about what's going on in the divorce? My opinion on that is no. And I'm going to explain why using my own self and my son. So my son never had any questions at all, any interest at all, at least to me, on what was going on in the case. None. And when the judge terminated my ex's parental rights, and I think he was 9 at the time, and he was, sort of not in the conflict anymore because my wife adopted him, he still didn't have any interest. And here he is now, almost 16 years old, and still has no interest. He knows that the YouTube channel has a 200 plus part series on the case. He hasn't watched a single video of it. He just doesn't care. I myself didn't care until I was like 34 maybe. And the only reason I cared wasn't even sort of a natural curiosity. The only reason I cared was because I asked one of my parents, about an incident from my childhood that really bothered me. And I got this weird answer that was completely inconsistent with my memory of it. And I kind of felt like I was being gaslit. And so I was like, it just bothered me to get that response from my parent. And so I wanted to go and find out what happened, because I'm trying to find the word to describe, it was jarring, unnerving for me to get that answer, because I didn't understand why I needed to be told that something never happened, when I had such a strong, vivid memory of it actually happening. So in any event, I never ended up going to the courthouse to get any of the documents. My curiosity went away after about 3 or 4 days. And it's interesting how quickly I became curious and how quickly I just didn't care. I think if it was so easy to download the PDFs, I would have actually looked at them, but I didn't think it was really worth like going and paying for the papers and stuff like that. Even now, as I'm doing this video, I don't really care anymore. I figured, I remember what I remember, and if it's not true, it doesn't matter, because I already have decided how to sort of deal with this parent going forward. So it's not a happy situation. It's not a happy past. I talk about this in the video, self-love deficit disorder. If you have any curiosities, just watch that video. Going into why I might be wrong, I want to point out, I'm a male and I have a son. It may be different for daughters, maybe different for females. Maybe they do have curiosities that males don't have. Maybe they want to find out more. Going into how it would probably benefit families, there are a lot of situations where I think families are getting pulled into high conflict cases and they're being told things that are not accurate. I'm not even talking about the child right now. I'm just talking about, just say you have a grandmother and a grandfather who are bankrolling a child's high conflict child custody case, and their child says, hey, I need $5,000 to save my child from my evil ex. And they fork over $5,000. And then a few months later, hey, I need another $10,000 for discovery. And then another couple months later, there's a motion to modify. Please send $25,000. The grandparents are probably starting to feel the pinch. I mean, that's a lot of money. And some grandparents, I'm just going to use grandparents, it could really be aunt and uncle, even just a coworkers or friends could do it, could be bankrolling a case. They may be like, I know you're saying that this is what's happening, but how do we know for sure? I mean, this is a lot of money, and they may say, we just can't do this anymore. I mean, we wanted to help you, get through your case. We didn't know that after you got your decree, there were going to be 7 or 8 different post-judgment motions, and we just can't do it. There's other families that are different. I've heard of grandparents losing their homes, $300,000 homes, over bankrolling these cases. And I strongly believe that this idea that the cases should be secret from families isn't good, just because it creates a situation where families can be exploited. That's the only way to really describe it. In my specific case, my ex's grandparents, they probably sent her a couple $100,000. I mean, over the course of the 8 years. And what they were being told wasn't true. It's just so much more harmful to take this approach that these cases should be conducted in secret than it is protective. There are other examples where I've seen the abusive party trying to seal a case. I mean, I can think of 1 or 2 where the victim tries to seal the case, but overwhelmingly, I see the abusive party trying to seal the case and redact records. And it's like, what's even more a slap to the face of this idea that these cases should be conducted in secret or privately? I've seen several examples where the abusive party will seal the case, and then they will go on social media and tell people all of these horrible things about their ex and the judge. And it's like they could show people, but they don't want to do that. They want people to just trust their word. And so they're speaking out of both ends of their mouth. On one side, they're like, we got to seal everything and keep it super secret. We can't let people find out what's going on. And then in the other side, they're like on social media trumpeting their case to the world, but not showing people any of the filings or any of the hearings. They're just telling people verbally, this is what's going on, and just believe me, please. You just have to trust my words. I actually get that on our Nevada judges too. I get messages from people where they send me all of these like documents and pictures and all of these, please help me, save me. All these bad things are happening, but don't cover the case. Don't cover the case. Just trust my word. It really exposes. It's almost like they make a mockery of the whole thing. They make a mockery of the whole system and its rules of protecting kids and privacy and protecting families by using exploiting the system's position of privacy, while at the same time showing everybody else on social media all of these documents and papers. And so, I mean, this is the situation that we're in. We have a society of 300 plus million people in America. Something like half of them go through the family court system. And the idea, which came from, I guess, the 1950s or something, that you're going to get ostracized as a family if you divorce, or if you had like a child out of wedlock, is completely dead. We're in the year 2022 now, and nobody's going to be ostracized. I mean, if a kid goes to school with, oh no, my parents split up, half the other kids in the class are in the same boat. I'm not sure how half the kids are going to be ostracized from the other half. I mean, maybe in the 1950s that was a problem because you were just the only kid there and you just stood out like a sore thumb, but that's no longer the situation. And it's the same with the child out of wedlock thing. That's not at all uncommon anymore. Not even close. So these ideas from the 50s where all of this stuff had to be super secret and quiet, they're just not compatible with the year 2022. There's 2 social media groups in Clark County that are completely intensely interested in the operation of the family courts. They're groups with thousands of followers, or I don't know what they're called, members. and they are sharing information amongst themselves of how to file motions and how to represent themselves, and how does the court deal with relocation, how does the court deal with vacations and holidays and conflict and first right of, they're talking about all this stuff. They're trying to survive, they're trying to understand a system where everything is, it's just so opaque. And so the public interest in the system has swelled. So I'm going to move on now to, should the parents include the children in their litigation? And in my opinion, they shouldn't. There's just no way to do that without it becoming a what they call a loyalty bind. I think that's what the experts call it. No matter how you try to convey to your child what's going on in the litigation, no matter how objective you try and be about it, they're just going to see it as, okay, I have to be loyal to this person. I can't see any way that a parent can talk to their child without that being the case. And in my own situation, in my own 8-year high conflict child custody situation, that's I knew that would be the situation. I couldn't tell my son in any way, shape, or form anything in the litigation because, number one, he wouldn't understand it. He was so young. And number two, he would see it as me wanting him to be on my side, because that's what my ex was trying to do when he was over there. That's just sort of how he was trained to understand that sort of approach. It's just not possible, in my opinion, for a parent to do that. A third party, maybe, but I just don't, it just wouldn't work. I just can't see it working. And that leads me to the unfortunate reality that probably, unless the children on their own are adults and they're somehow entangled with the litigation, which has happened, there just isn't really a way to involve them that's safe. There just isn't, which leads me to the third part of the video. Here I am at the end, which is that the court system is correct. The court system has this approach that parents shouldn't talk to their kids about the litigation, and it's correct, because even if you are the protective parent, they're just going to feel like you're trying to get their loyalty. And then if you aren't the protective parent and there's a policy to the contrary, the high conflict parents are going to exploit that to lie to their kids about what's going on. And so it's just an unfortunate situation that the only real benefit that comes from having high conflict child custody cases public is to complete strangers. There's just almost nothing that the family can do that would be beneficial to the children with regards to their own high conflict cases. There is, I think, an enormous benefit to the public because they can use the case as an example to try and understand the operation of the family courts. But there's just almost no benefit at all to the family, which is probably how it should be. And that's the reason why our Nevada judges redacts the names and the case number and the faces and all the blurring and all that stuff. That's why that happens. It's because the value of that specific information, these specific identities of the participants of the cases, is just so minimal. The educational value is really the operation of the family court system in the general sense, and that's really the only value that those videos have. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that if you were to allow participants to one of those cases to be exposed, because I have been told before by multiple litigants that they don't mind if I unredact their case, all I think that's going to do is cause the parent to take advantage of the publicity and sort of, I don't know, I think there's a word for it. Just basically not act in the way that they should act with their case, because they know other people are going to be watching and they're going to want to something to the I know that there's a specific word that they use for people who will act one way when nobody's watching and then another way when there's a camera on them. So that's, in my opinion, a very real problem with these types of cases, is that families themselves, especially a high conflict party, would abuse the fact that other people would know who they are and would exploit the fact that there's a camera on their case. So there's that problem. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is you can take a case, you can take a camera off of a case and you can close a hearing, but it doesn't mean that it's going to stay out of the public eye. There are other groups in Nevada that publish videos, even on sealed cases. And they don't file media requests and they don't ask the court for permission. They just get the video from the X and they publish it. And that's really the biggest, I guess, sort of the elephant in the room there is you can do all of these things to try to close a case off from the public. You can pass a court rule, you can enter court orders, you can seal the case, and it doesn't matter if one of the parents wants to expose the case. They're a litigant. They have access to the filings. They have access to the Javs videos. They're a litigant in the case, and they can still get that stuff, and they can still leak it. And that's not just once or twice as it happened. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos out there on other YouTube channels where nobody approved a media request. The court was closed. The courtroom was closed to the public. The case was sealed, and it didn't matter. They published it anyway. So the idea that you can't publicize cases because if you do, the kids are going to be harmed. Sorry to say that if there's a high conflict parent out there that wants to harm their kids, they're going to do it anyway. And it's really sad that that's something that happens, but it's completely true. So there's other states actually where they had not Javs, they had a live streams of like CPS, like Texas, for example, was live streaming their CPS cases, and people were recording and publishing them. And it's a different year now. It's 2022. People have access to social media networks and platforms, and there's parents that's just one of the things that they want to do because they're angry and they feel like they're not getting a fair shake in court. They may be the high conflict party, they may not. But the point I'm trying to make is they're not following any of the rules. They don't care what the rules are. They send them out. They send the videos out, publish the videos anyway. So I hope that this is a video that makes sense to a lot of people. I think that a lot of people are going to have differences of opinions with me on this video. Even though my son wasn't interested in it, and even though my interest in it was very low, I'm sure that there's going to be people out there who are like, my child is super interested in it, and I myself am very interested in it. And I know that there's probably a lot of people that are in toxic families that really do wish that they could find out what happened in their past, trying to sort of understand what the truth is because they are not sure of how to move forward in their lives. They're now 20, 30, 40 years old, and they're much older, and they're in a toxic family. They don't trust their mom and dad, and they just want to get some questions answered. So I think that the veil is going to inevitably be pulled back because the stigma from the 1950s just doesn't apply to the year 2022, and that people are trying to figure out how, as a society at large, how these courts operate. And it's just one of those things that's going to be tough. It's a very counterintuitive thing, and I already think people know my position on it because the Arnavetta Judges channel is already covering family court cases, a bunch of them. I think we're like at 6 or 7 at this point. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to post them down in the comments below. I feel like this is going to be one of those videos where there are a lot of comments. Anyway, hopefully I will get some differences of opinion from you guys, some insight on your perspectives. But then that being said, I will go ahead and sign off and see you guys next time.